My big question is why have so many people been sleeping on Wilder Worlds? This is a project that I recently came across over on TikTok and was just shilled to me by someone I thought was spam. And I figured, hey, I'll put it on my list and take a look at it. But boy, was I surprised when I actually did a little bit of research, just a little bit of research into a vast sea of information out there regarding Wilder Worlds. Now, this project is aiming to be the largest metaverse play hands down. It's looking to completely wipe the face of Decentraland, Sandbox, and Axie combined because of the underlying technology that it is in cahoots with and what it is aiming to do on a much larger level than just building a game. Now, we've seen plenty of metaverse projects out there that are aiming to give us that Ready Player One style metaverse project that we've been looking for. The ability to transfer from one game to another so seamlessly, all while having very realistic graphics the whole time to really immerse you into the project. Now, that's not an easy claim to make, and we've again seen some do this, but this is something Wilder Worlds is really taking on very seriously. Wilder Worlds is the top layer, that game we've been looking for that is that Ready Player One style GTA open world game with photorealistic graphics that allows us to play with any NFT in the space where everything in the game is actually an NFT. And you probably think to yourself, well, we've heard these bold claims before, and that's actually a large undertaking, and there's no doubt about it. And really, when you start looking at the project and the documentation, you realize they've got quite a feat on their hands. And it's probably the first notable challenge that I think this project will have. In their first step to actually make this accomplished, they really want to go about it a slightly different way than I think a lot of other projects have gone, which is to reward NFT creators first. Now, I know I've heard some projects say that, but they seem to be putting their money where their mouth is, with just about all rewards in some way funneling through to NFT creators first before filtering through to the community and holders of tokens. Now, this is probably a very good way to go about this because honestly, in order for a metaverse project to grow at a rate in which it needs to actually be viable into the future, it needs to be able to develop at a speed that's kind of unheard of. So I think poaching or enticing a bunch of NFT creators would probably be your very first step. Again, as I had mentioned, that game we've been looking for where you can jump in, immerse yourself, drive around, fly, shoot people, do heists, take people's money, kind of an unlimited universe where you want to play is exactly what Wilder Worlds wants to bring to the table. And really, if you get down to brass tacks, it is kind of like an NFT marketplace, or at very least, right now it is. And then really, if I hadn't gone much further, I would have chalked it up to being, okay, here's one of those bold claims from a video game out there that wants to, make that metaverse play that we've seen that's probably unattainable because really, who could imagine a Ready Player One style game being created? We haven't even come close, like not even close. But then when you start to go a little bit further, you start to dive and pull the pieces back and come up with what is the real gem in this entire project. When you realize that Wilder Worlds is just the icing on the cake. It's even just the cherry on top. Wilder Worlds is going to be one world inside of a galaxy, inside of another universe of other projects out there. The underlying technology behind Wilder Worlds is actually a separate project, Zero. Zero is a project that is building the technology that will allow Wild Worlds to sit on top. You're probably asking, why would you build a technology under an already big metaverse game that you're going to be building? Well, the developers seem to think that this is probably the best way to go about it because they have come to the thesis that building a metaverse project akin to something like Ready Player One would require basically a social media platform. Now, this is a very interesting take because I don't think I've seen any other project out there trying to start from their base layer as a social media platform, which ultimately kind of makes sense when you think about it. And this social media platform will actually be a layer for projects to be built on top of. This social media layer at first is really going to be a place for creators to connect. Creators are the center pin of this entire project base and are really going to be what probably drives it forward. It's not going to be interest from the retail market or gamers. It's going to be the creators who are interested in the project because they're getting rewards and they have really cool tools to be built. But this underlying social media platform, at first just being a place for creators to connect, has another layer on top, which is going to be the development platform where people can actually create their 3D world assets. This is going to be developed in a way that will allow other complete development teams to come in and either build from scratch their project or port their project into the metaverse, allowing them to have seamless integration with an already budding ecosystem, something like Wilder Worlds. Now, I know this sounds like an absolute mind bender at this point, and honestly, this video is not gonna cover every part of it because there's too much. I've been racking my brain over this for a few days with pages and pages of documentation on what they're trying to accomplish, and how far down that rabbit hole I actually got was a little mind bending to say the least. And what I'm gonna end up doing is probably making an entire series, so keep an eye out for that. This will probably be the first in a series of introductions to the project and where it's going to go over the future, because I'm really excited about where this has potential in the future. I think we've all been wanting the Ready Player One game that we've been looking for the metaverse. You put on a VR headset, you get on board, and you can jump from game to project to bank to whatever you want without having to constantly unplug and move over here or completely shift around your ecosystem or how you're managing your funds or wallets. It just sounds like way too much. Now here's the point where I will talk about the biggest problem that I actually see with this project, and that is going to be the actual scope of the undertaking. It is something so massive that this could take a very long time. So at this point, I do think we are very early on into the project, and I really want that to be noted here. But this is the time when you make those moonshots. This is the time when they have an opportunity to get in at a reasonable price and take off to beyond the moon. Because if something like this actually grows to what it's purporting to, this could be the biggest metaverse gaming platform alive. In order to further illustrate my point, usually I'll head over to the charts and actually start talking about the pricing action. And we will do that a little bit here, and I'll give you a price prediction here at the very end. But what we want to take a look at is actually also the Zero platform and see that there is an entire other token and project behind the project that we are originally starting with. And these two combined only have about 500-600 million worth of diluted market cap. Fully diluted market cap on both of these is relatively low. Now, just for assumption's sake or visual sake, let's say they started to grow to the size of, say, Decentraland, which has a $2.4 billion market cap. That's a 5x to get to that place. Let's say to get to the Sandbox, we gotta go to 4 billion. We're now talking about an 8x. And if we wanted to come up to the scope of something like Axie Infinity, which I think is a little overhyped and a little overvalued, but at around 6 billion, we'd be looking at about a 32x to get to just this point where we are now. The low of a bull market cycle, we're on our way to a bear market, and we're actually probably seeing a project way overvalued that doesn't belong in this list here. I think that if this project was going to make itself into the future, it's probably going to take over all three of these. And we could look at something that would be much larger. Therefore, when we drive back here, we're actually looking at not just Wilder Worlds, but we're also looking at Zero project as well. And Zero is really the play I think is going to be the largest one here. With a $500 million fully diluted market cap currently, I think this has a potential to well exceed billions, going into the tens of billions, because if this does develop a platform in which other platforms are built on, then it will have a much bigger use case than just one single game. And that's something I always talk about, is really a infrastructure play or something that is building an underlying asset that a lot of other game developers can build on top of, something like Gala Games. These are the plays that are gonna be the biggest ones in the future because they're the projects that will be around and are safer to bet on, especially during bear market cycles. So when it comes to a price prediction, I think on this video, I'm going to focus on Wilder Worlds and really say that I could see this sort of number that we're seeing here of about 180 fully diluted market cap being the fully well out there, built out project, because we are so far away from it, moving its way on up towards something like Axie Infinity right now. Let's call it around 6 billion. Pull out the calculator. 6 billion divided by 180 million. Is a 33x. Now I see Wilder World actually making it to the size of Axie Infinity with a $6 billion valuation in the future if it maintains its flagship status as the gateway to the project of Zero, the social media platform that will be the underlying development platform for other games. If it is the main game to go through and probably the gateway drug, so to speak, for all other metaverses throughout, you will probably see it skyrocket into the future. Now, this is obviously all wild speculation and not something I want to get absolutely involved with, but it does point to that I'm going to be making a lot more videos on this. This is the point where I would probably ask you to leave comments down below and let me know what you want to see first. I really think I'm probably going to head down the NFT infrastructure on how to get into this project now before it's too late, but I would love to know what you think and what you think we should be looking at first. Leave those in the comments down below. I'm pretty active in the community. And if at this point you thought this was interesting, you got a bit of entertainment, or maybe you got some value out of it, you know what to do. Subscribe and like. That really does help the channel. And at the end of the day, remember that nothing you see here is financial advice. It's just an opinion.